clients come to me and I review their current coverage. Well, I've come across where all they have is an office policy. They don't even have cyber coverage. So just beware. You want to find an agent that knows your type of business, first of all. And second of all, you might want to ask, what are the exclusions? Know a little bit more. I mean, your agent really should be talking to you so you understand.
I guess I'm surprised to hear this, because I know that on my side of the industry, there are a lot of things that people don't get. It's only to the level of that agent's experience. And it's not that they're trying to avoid being around their agent or run from their agent, but there are a lot of times your agent doesn't have the ability to provide all the coverage that you need, particularly if they're captive. Am I right in saying that?
What did you say?
If they're like a captive agent.
Right. So they have one insurance company. A lot of times, like State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, American Family, Geico, they're wonderful companies. They're A-rated. But if you went there with a startup, or again, like I also write cannabis, they would not be able to write your business.
Really?
Yeah, because they normally want someone that's in business for 3 years. And they don't have really options. It's one company.
Now, I'm going to tell you, this is my belief. Just as I'm sure there are a lot of other small businesses like myself who are watching this show. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them started up during COVID. Mm-hmm. A lot of us do not know what we have that could protect us until something goes wrong. Mm-hmm. No matter where they are in the country, they can still reach out to you, can't they?
Right. And another misconception I'm going to tell you, I just was talking to another resource just before you. She asked me, when does a business need insurance? When you launch, not when you start getting money and cash flow. It's when you start, because anybody can sue you. Also, like I said, with cyber. But again, I don't like when people are insurance poor, and really you should be getting bare bones and options, and you decide. And you don't have to load up on insurance right away. You can always add it later.
Is it cost adjusted based on what the revenue? Because when you're new, you have very little revenue stream, and
right.
Small businesses. Today you have a client, tomorrow you don't have a client. Today you're making thousands of dollars, tomorrow you have nobody for the next 5 or 6 months.
Right.
Startup. I'm glad you're telling us that.
Yeah, because be careful, because some of these policies, workman's comp for sure, because it's based on payroll for the next 12 months. A startup or a small business that's growing is not going to be able to let you know. So at the end of the policy period, the company comes back and says, prove to me what your payroll was. And so if you've underestimated your payroll, you're going to be paying at the end of that policy period. If you overestimated, you're going to be given a credit. What we like to do is we like to check in with that company maybe after 4 or 5 months to see how things are going. And if we have to increase the payroll, we will. If we have to decrease it, we will. I don't want somebody to get hit with, a $10,000 audit. Who budgets for things like that?
You're exactly right.
And general liability, same thing. It's based on sales a lot of times. But if someone's new, I tell them, please don't give me the amount you budgeted for. What do you think in the next 12 months, realistically? And then we can always increase it later. I don't want people to be paying on a lot of premium because their sales are way too high. So
you're not going to have lunch again. I need to go over stuff for myself. You opened my eyes here. Let me ask you, what are some of the circumstances that a business forgets about or don't think about when it comes to e-commerce or the 1099s or things? What are some of the things that they miss?
Okay, well, a lot of people don't understand that 1099s are like your employees. So for instance, I spoke to someone who is a web designer, but all they do is they do like the content. Then they have somebody do something else and somebody else do something else. Well, if let's say they had something happened and their client sued them, and it was because of their 1099. Well, if they don't have professional liability or coverage, then you're going to end up paying for it or using your own insurance. Maybe an easier is a contractor. It's a general contractor. He does not have any employees. He goes and hires a carpenter, electrician, a plumber. Well, you need to make sure that those people have their own workman's comp, their own general liability, because if something happens and they don't have those coverages, they're going to come after you who hired them for workman's comp to pay for their their injuries. Or if they're sued because the house fell down because the carpenter didn't put enough, wood up. I mean, I'm not a carpenter, but then they're going to go after you. So be careful and always ask your 1099s if they have their own insurance. If they don't, and you don't want them to have it, you can get coverage for them, but you need to tell your agent that also. Well, your agent should be asking you if you have W-2 employees or 1099s in the first place, so you can have that conversation.
I want to add this point. I think with a lot of small businesses, they start because they have an idea. Sometimes they want to make money on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I launched this podcast talk show because I had worked for several investment firms in my life, many, many, many years. And I realized as a financial professional, and I'm not one now, so I'm not giving advice, but I recognized that I was vulnerable because there's only so much that I could explain under my licensing, but that did not provide the client with everything that they need. And I'm hoping, and I know we will be having a lot of financial advisors watch the show because many of them do. But they need to be aware it's not about selling away. It's about protecting the client.
Right.
It's finding what's in the client's best interest. And that may not be a product under your umbrella. What's really important is that client should not be led astray or led at risk because of what you didn't know. Mm-hmm. So reach out to Anne Marie. And I have a couple of questions to ask you here. How does this person know if they're covered properly?
Well, I'll let you know that you should really be having conversations and a very in-depth conversation with them. I know a lot of people don't like to call insurance agents because they don't know what to ask. But during the conversation with your agent, a lot of times questions come to mind. You want to make sure you have or feel confident with that agent, that they're telling you good information and a lot of information. Because I have people call me and say, why do you need all this? And it's because I need to make sure that I'm going to cover you properly. So
what should the person be looking for in their insurance agent?
Well, someone that, like I said, that they get along with, I'm going to say somebody that's responsive. Somebody, like I said, that gives them bare bones and gives them options and tells them if they don't take it, what could happen. So it's not just, okay, give me a few information, let me plug it in the computer and start quoting, and then here you go, it's $500. You want them to go over the proposal so they understand what they're getting. And you can, I have to say, demand that, because it's very easy for us to send a proposal